And today, I'm going to be talking about something we think will make VRChat safer and better for everyone: age verification.
It's finally happened. VRChat has made the first big announcement for verifying accounts. We can create 18 plus instances. Let's review and talk about a few concerns. Howdy there, y'all. If you don't know me, my name is Nuoance, and I've got too much work to be doing this right now in the busy season. But alas, VRChat has made an announcement big enough that needs to be talked about. I've been very open about wanting a more secure space within VRChat, with the game being free and catering to all different sorts of people since the early 2020s. And ID verification has been a hot topic and popular debate that you'll be tearing each other over during your VR Thanksgiving dinner, if you celebrate it. In case you haven't checked and the quick intro didn't catch you up to speed, VRChat made an announcement the day before Thanksgiving about how they're at a spot where they can finally announce the partnership with Persona, a verification app used with other programs, most notably Roblox. By using this third-party program, your ID will be scanned and communicate with VRChat if you are of age or older, and thus gain you access to the adult side of the game. Verification as right now will be held through group instances, but not individual worlds, so places such as the Black Cat can host adult-only hangouts, even if it wasn't made for adults. Originally, I was against this idea, but I forgot about the content gating, which would automatically keep minors out of spaces not safe for them anyways. Now I'm all for it, realizing this would allow for users to create any instance of any world for adults only. In all honesty, I've been looking forward to the verification process for a hot minute, and I know this one video they've made isn't going to be enough or one-stop shop for all the answers that many people probably have questions for. Firstly though, why do we need verification in VRChat? And well, that really depends on who you ask. For some, it's just a way to avoid a group of people you aren't interested in interacting with. Many adults get the game to socialize with other adults, even if there is no adult content going on. Being able to sit back and have a conversation about a new game or perhaps social and political opinions, and not worrying about accidentally influencing someone much younger or having to family-fy your opinions. Hell of a Boss and Has-Been Hotel is a great example for this, as I've seen a lot of minors who are way too young to be digesting their content completely miss the points of character. For others, it's a way to comfortably find safe spaces for adult-made content. VRChat used to be a lot more strict on this, but as the years go by and the money flows in, they're realizing this isn't possible to stomp out completely without destroying the economy they've made. Throw a fit all you want, for some sex sells. It's not ideal, but it's a reality. Also, while I'm not a fan of hypersexualization and it's overdone and honestly boring, I don't find a problem with adults consenting in adult spaces in private. Not my circus, not my monkeys and all that. Finally, and I think this is the biggest one for me, is that it'll force spaces to be more safe and aware of what they're doing if they have to be verified. There was no comment on what happens with your verified account, or if you can use the same ID to verify multiple accounts, but using Roblox as an example, that isn't an option, so I'm going to assume no. Which actually makes me segue into my two big negatives that I have: single accounts and public safety. Before we cover that though, I feel the need to mention something that I'm already seeing not even 6 hours post the announcement. If someone isn't comfortable with this change, that doesn't automatically out them as a bad person. That's a really black and white way of thinking, I'm gonna be honest. Not everyone is as integrated into VRChat as you are. Not everyone's okay with throwing their ID online regardless what the program is, because they may be concerned about stolen identities or other things I can't think of at the exact moment. Now, if someone's like openly against it and throwing a big fit and then submits their IDs to a club Discord individually, yeah, I can see the logic why that might be sketchy. But claiming that someone's a predator is a serious allegation that should only be used with legitimate reasoning. Not wanting to ID verify in a game that has pulled the rug out from under us a few times too many is a fair call to make, in my opinion. I'm all for the ID verification. I said I've been pro-verification since 2020-ish, but if you're instantly calling someone such disgusting things because they have their reservations, you don't deserve your voice. Go ahead, dislike the button. Go ahead. I don't care, because those kinds of claims dull the very serious reality that somebody goes through. This is actually the first thing out of the two concerns I have, and is the heavier topic of the two. Because what are regular public instances going to look like after this update? It won't only be minors who don't have access to adult content, but also those who cannot verify because they were banned earlier, maybe some issues, perhaps those who are looking for people under the age limit, which are the ones we are concerned about. And of course, once again, the players who just don't feel comfortable with verifying. A small side note why I feel like this needs to be mentioned. The story I've spoken about more than once is about 2 YouTuber wannabes I ran into who would go around worlds like the FNAF Daycare Center, find other adults, and try to record them stating that they were hunting for kids to take advantage of, just because they were in the world. They would try to bait other adults and did it to people that I knew in attempts to get them canceled. I am pressing and begging you not to do this with verification. Of course, some players who haven't mentally aged past 12 and want to take advantage of the system are going to try it, but don't let that mindset become the norm. I swear to God, it is a slippery slope you'll regret starting, and also just makes it harder for the real dangerous people to get caught. Anyways, groups won't struggle as much because, in general, if someone's hosting constant group events, they're keeping an eye on it, but standard public worlds are about to become a battleground. My only real comment is that I hope VRChat takes moderation of these spaces with a much higher priority after this update. I'm not trying to be negative Nancy, don't get me wrong, but just like with group public instances, this will be the new norm to the adult side of VRChat, and with being a lot less accessible, so less people to filter out, those who are joining the game for harmful or disrespectful content will only have the non-verified spaces to troll. VRChat can't control that. And of course only time will tell, but this is something that weighs on me every time verification has been mentioned, only because potential new players may be turned off to the game much quicker, as well as those who are looking to make connections, friends, or experiences with strangers, but aren't willing to drop their ID yet, could get frustrated and leave. I will say, the best way to experience VRChat, in my opinion, will always be finding a community. Even if it's not your forever hangout, you could make a connection with someone and find your own little friend group from there, which actually brings me to my second topic. But before that, hey, you should join. We all know that while alt accounts are technically against TOS, they are very commonly used, especially for events. One thing I want to smack out of your head today, besides the, other comment, is verification as well as adult-only events are not only for not safe for work reasons all the time. For mine, for example, we host them specifically so the adults from the community can enjoy a space without the influence of minors. And for the minors, I'm not saying this as in you're a negative energy, but when you become an adult, you'll understand, because it's very normal not to be fully comfortable around minors all the time. I will say, I'm a bit of a hypocrite right now because I will be taking advantage of adult-only instances a lot more often. But, also I just don't like people asking me for my only because of the Roxanne Wolf thing. So, and I'll have you know it's mostly kids that make that joke. So, point proven. Another good example is maybe I'll drink alcohol every 1 or 2 months, but it's always in a space where no kids are around. Actually, it's usually in a space where only friends are around. It's technically not against the rules, and if you're drinking in a public black cat just to chill, you have the right to, but having a kid around makes many adults feel responsible and adds pressure that they don't need. For some, it may be just boiling down to we don't like kids, but to others, it's more than that. It's more about just wanting to enjoy a space with people like-minded and like-aged. It's why we have so many communities that are 18 plus with host accounts. That's why making the verification process for these alternative accounts unavailable, especially for events, can cause problems for said events and people. On the flip side, group instances made this much more accessible with no longer needing to add a host account to gain access, so you won't need to verify a host account. But to complex that even more, group instances cannot be changed or modified after creation. So if you do something like a Patreon or Discord perks, they're screwed over. In my opinion, that needs to be dealt with before verification is added. But what am I saying? Maybe I'm just salty because there's an event that I would 100% would have paid for to assure access, yet since they use group instances, I wouldn't have made it either way, and you cannot change who can enter the instances ahead of time, so if someone tried to make the accessible for VIPs only, it's VIPs only until the new instance is made. Why can't we change that? Can we change that? Can we add that too? As for the real elephant in the room, some people use alternative accounts for privacy. Many of the people you watch who stream or play VRChat have an alt to be left alone and not get spammed invites and friend requests out of wazoo. Heck, I've heard of a few devs who use an alt account given their privacies. This is of course word of mouth, doesn't mean it's true, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. While I'm not for using alts as a way to avoid repercussions, gaslight, sneak your way into friend group, or dodge confrontation, there are legitimate reasons some people may use alts for their own safety and peace of mind. And I know I'm biased because I've seen and experienced how people treat those they see as popular in a virtual video game that has very little bearing in real-world interactions. I know I personally have been stalked in the game, even after blocking them. A good middle ground would be connecting the alts to the main account, maybe as like a VRChat Plus perk, but the connection is only visible to VRChat's side. It's seen as a regular account for everyone else, and if you want the other VRC Plus perks, you'd have to buy the benefits twice, one on each account. Or perhaps if you've got connecting accounts, just add someone on account A and then on account B. It makes a little note, so it's easier for those you have added on both accounts to realize who you are, once again avoiding those who use alts for negative purposes. We can already combine Steam and VRChat accounts. I don't think this idea is fully out of the spectrum of possibility. Or Or if price is a worry, just have the user pay an extra fee to verify more than one account. Either way, it connects all the accounts together and would stop the concerns about ban evaders while also keeping the player base who need more than one account happy. Finally, I do want to mention one more negative, which I personally mostly disagree with, but I want to give it a fair spot in the sunlight because I have heard this concern frequently. Not recently, but frequently. Some people are against verification only because they feel it's unsafe, uploading their ID to an app they don't trust or understand. And that's fair, that's completely valid. I have no issue with that. However, others are against ID verification due to the fact that VRChat and a few other online games are meant to be anonymous. A few years ago, I made a video about how some people see their virtual body as their real one, though some go too far and grow uncomfortable looking at their IRL form. One specific example that came from that video was an individual who talked about how they would only get out of VR for work and necessities that they can't do in VR. Otherwise, they're always online and they are aware it's a bad habit. This is a rare case that I think grew during COVID times where someone can't stand to see themselves compared to the virtual avatar they wear in game, but they compare their looks and imperfections to something built to be flawless. Not too long ago, I had a rather aggressive conversation with someone who hated the idea of ID verification, and by sending their ID, they're breaking the illusion of who they are and what they are. They don't play the game as a full-grown man, they want to play the game with the impression that they really are the furry wolf model they're wearing. Opinions on ID verification aside, this is stunningly common in VRChat. We often see different avatars as people we know, even if we don't really look like that. I've been friends with people for years that I have never seen what they really look like, and vice versa, because it doesn't matter in the context of our relationship. Sure, some take it to the extreme, which is a video on its own, but in general, I think this also helps remind players of an important distinction between their real and beautiful bodies versus the ones that exist only as pixels. Also, I want to mention that these cases are rare and not super common. These situations happen because of the person's mental status, and it's their responsibility to get help. I see it like blaming a car for a devastating wreck when you were the one speeding without your seatbelt or stopping at the stop signs. Accountability is kind of an important thing in life. And for safety-wise, VRChat has already said so themselves. They get no part in touching that information. It's done through persona, so they won't be holding on to anything more than your date of birth, which I do hope is private, not because of the age, but because some people just aren't comfortable with having that information out there. This, of course, banks on if you trust VRChat's words, so if you don't, you may be having doubts and concerns, and should leave them either in the comments of their newest video or when they do a developable stream, as they've requested. Or perhaps comment down below and let's have a conversation. A reminder to be respectful or you'll end up having your comments removed, as throwing a tantrum doesn't get any attention here. Unfortunately, verification doesn't remove all the full-grown adults who act like children. That'd be the heaven. In general, I'm very excited for this update, and it has been a long time coming. Besides those two issues, there isn't much else that bothers me, at least none that really came to mind while watching the update. There's going to be a lot that VRChat doesn't answer right away because there's probably still a lot that they're working on, and while it's in beta and only open to a few select groups, there are probably also going to be some changes. I would once again love to hear your opinions as well as your concerns with the update. Here's to hoping VRChat works with the players this time. As always, make sure to drink your water, eat your broccoli, and have a fantastic day. See you all in the next video. Bye.